Welcome back, everyone. I know it's I know you guys have been sick and tired of listening to everything that I've had to say about this, that, and the other, from South Park to the Transport Security Administration, and just about going on and on and on about Terminator. But today I've got something for you that's just a little bit different, but a little bit reminderful. I'm joined here by Signalman Michael Riese, who's been in the Navy for 6 years. Mr. Riese, care to say hello?
Hello,
How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well.
So you were a signalman in the Navy for
Yes,
6 years.
yes.
What did you? So give us a little bit of backstory on yourself. What? How was the Navy when you joined?
It was exciting. It was something different.
Hmm.
We were going to be able to go places and see things, and we were able to go to different foreign countries.
See anything exciting over there, or like what type of countries did you go to?
We were off the coast of Cuba in 1964, I believe. 1965, decided we'd go to Vietnam, so we got on a boat called an LST. Spent time in Vietnam. Went to the Philippines, Subic Bay in the Philippines. Naha City, Okinawa. There was an air base, Kadena Air Force Base uh, in Okinawa. In Guam, did some extensive work on the ship, and we had a place. It was called Gab Gab Beach, believe it or not, and it was the most beautiful thing you'd ever want to see. And we'd go snorkeling and diving and seeing all the beautiful manta rays and shark, and just it was fantastic.
Well, that's good. Uh, do you have for those listening to this right now, or for those that will be listening to this, who will be in the army? Do you have any suggestions for them? Any tips about the new recruits joining, or?
Well, the ones joining nowadays, it's totally different than uh, when I joined. The discipline is different, just like in school, the discipline's different. But it's interesting. You learn how to take commands. You learn how all the just a lot of different things than in civilian life. You even learn how to eat different.
Hmm. You say so. So through your 6 years in the Navy, it's thought it was a pretty good experience.
Oh, definitely, yes, yes. And like I said, especially to see the way different people in different countries lived. It was interesting. It was exciting. It was beautiful. Some of the countries were absolutely beautiful. Others were kind of like Subic Bay in the Philippines was kind of slummy and just it's totally different. Hang on a minute. Okay, back to you.
Uh, as as you returned home and got back to normal civilian life, and you met up with others who have been in your situation, what have some of the things you've been talking about with them?
Well, just uh, like tonight, I went to the VFW for a meeting, and it was the guys in charge there. It's like a bunch of guys. They call it them a council, and we discuss things how things are going for the guys, the veterans, if they're taking care of us, uh, which they have been, and the different things that the VA or like the VFW or the DAV, that's Disabled American Veterans Organization, are helping the guys cope with things that trouble them psychologically, uh, making sure we go to our doctors, making sure that we're being taken care of, uh, and the help that's being done by the VFW.
What do you have to say on our government, current standpoint and benefits for you and other veterans?
Well, it's been a long fight for a lot of us guys, especially the Vietnam veterans, which I'm one of them, where they deny anything really ever happened to us with regards to this thing called Agent Orange. Uh, but they're getting better as time goes by. I think it's been too long that they've made the decision to try and help us, and we're still fighting for uh, things that we're entitled to, health care, and things like that for them to take care of us. And we're still having problems with the government. But recently, especially the last 4 years, with the administration that's been in power, uh, they've done us very respectfully.
Good.
I don't recommend young people. See, you can go in the military, whether it's Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, whatever, but you don't have to go over there and fight their wars that's going on like right now in Syria or Afghanistan or Iraq. We shouldn't have been over in Vietnam. But guys that are uh, just see now, today you don't have a draft. The guys that are in now are guys that volunteer and join the service on a volunteer basis. It's good because uh, it gets you away from, I guess you'd say, home. You better learn honor and respect especially when you go to boot camp, because that's where you learn it. They'll teach you it one way or the other. Uh, the military is a good place to be, I think, and whether, like I said, Army, Navy, or Air Force, especially if you go to these different countries, go to Spain, Italy, uh, Germany, where before the only reason you went to these foreign countries was during the wars that we had. So, and plus, spend 4 years active duty, you come out, you can go to college for free. They try and get you situated in a job. So yeah, there's a lot of good things about going into the military.
Now, I know I've asked you this, and you've touched on the current administration and how well they've benefited you and things of that nature. Do you feel, in in your perspective, how many presidents have you been, like presidential terms have you been through?
Oh, geez. Let's see: Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Carter, Reagan, old man Bush, Clinton, the other Bush, Obama, and now Trump. So quite a few.
And a lot of different ideologies and perspectives. And
Oh, sure. Yeah,
which one
definitely.
which one do you think would have been, in this day and age, which ideology do you think would have been the best for Americans or for people that are trying to get back into the swing of things with their government?
Well, go way back when Eisenhower, because Eisenhower was a general in World War II in Korea. Uh, Eisenhower, Reagan, and Trump. Possibly the Bushes, though, but you know,
Do you agree with our current president's standing on things, or uh,
yes.
what do you have to say to the what do you have to say to all this nonsense in the news that we're hearing about the impeachment trial and World War
It's
III?
it's it's a circus.
And I have to agree with you on that, as well as a hard hardworking American myself. I believe that it's just I have to agree with you. It is a circus. I'm trying to think. Um, how do you feel as a society or as a culture? How do you feel that we as Americans are progressing, like with technology and new new ways of medicine, things like that?
Well, I think that direction that's been going on for quite a few years, at least for your generation. Being old school, technology and I don't get along. Medicine, I think they've advanced quite a bit, but I still think they're holding out on some things.
Is there anything that basically I'm here I want to have my listeners hear what you have to say, you know, have a for you to give your opinion on today's life and society and things of that nature because I feel that and let me know if I'm in right to say this that the American dream and the American culture have kind of declined in a way people are getting a little how would I put it it's a little different than back when you and your parents were growing up and with everything that has changed now the ease of food and technology it's become a lot different. What do you
Well,
feel needs to change in order to get back to those idealistic what would you want to call it ideals of your generation?
well, I don't think you ever get back because if you look even back beyond my generation, before my generation, take for instance uh, this lady that we know back in her day. Of course, she was born in the late 1800s. She's seen uh, society go from horse and buggy to the automobile. She saw you'd never think for her generation that you'd ever see an airplane, which she did. But then after her generation came our generation, my generation, and we saw them just improve automobiles, which in a sense that's technology. The automobiles were improved from the Model Ts then in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Airplanes went from prop jobs to jet engines flying 600 miles an hour, taking trips from one side of the United States to the other in a matter of a couple of hours. So each uh, generation has experienced change. Whether you're talking about grandma sitting in front of the stove on Sunday cooking you dinner, or today you go to McDonald's or down to the Texas Roadhouse. So I don't know what the future has for the next generation.
If you had the chance to speak to this young generation and from what you've seen, what you've experienced, from everything that you've experienced with having children and then having grandchildren and seeing how things have gotten quite different. I mean, back then everyone was a lot nicer and things were a lot nicer and people could go home and people could walk the streets at night. But now it's just you can't do that anymore. What do you have to say on that?
Well, I don't think any generation would want to go back to the generation prior to theirs. But I'm thankful that I was able to live in the generation, they call it the baby boomers. When I was born and was a young person and a teenager, etc., Today it's just so much different. I don't know. Maybe it's because of technology. It's a faster way of life. Our government is, to me, is partial blame because they've allowed all this giveaway stuff. You don't have to have a job. You don't have to pay your taxes, and the whole kit and caboodle. So yeah,
Do you believe that the process where Americans receive uh, benefits and insurance that don't have that those Americans that don't have a job, do you believe it should be changed in a way where they should, if they are able-bodied to work, they should have to have a job in order to receive those benefits?
it's being done right now. The federal government, Trump's administration, has already changed the rules. Indianapolis has changed the rules. If you're an able-bodied person and you can get a job or work for, I don't know if it's 40 hours every 2 weeks or what it is, they're gonna cut the free things off. No more.
I've also heard from a close source of mine that you're a advocate. Well, not an advocate in a true advocate of a sense, but you tell a lot of people, uh, you give a lot of say about the VA, what was the VA, and how well it's been, and how well they've checked up and kept with you guys. For those who may be listening that are trying to look for these assistances, what would you have to say to them?
Well, I talk to guys when I find out they're, especially the Vietnam veterans, uh, that a lot of them don't realize that they're entitled to free health care and a lot of other things that go along with it. And I try to encourage them to come to our meetings once a month and hear what the guys have got to say. And there's been several of them that I've seen come to the meetings.
Well,
Of course,
that's
tonight there was standing room only at the meeting we had tonight in Valparaiso. So,
good. Is there anything else that I know it's getting pretty late. Is there anything else that you wish to add to this, or I mean, it's up to you.
no, other than the fact that uh, young people should pay attention, be respectful, and I don't know. Nothing was ever given to me. I had to work for whatever I got today, and I think that's the way it should be. But the expectations are a lot different today than they were 40, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. So other than that, that's about it. That'll wrap it up for me tonight.
Well, thank you, Mr. Riese, for taking the time out of your day to come on the show, and I wish to thank my listeners as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this little change of pace. More change coming soon in the future. Well, Mr. Riese, I wish you a wonderful evening.
Okay, you too. You have a good night.
And ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Doctor.